is Ashley. I live in North Central Washington, and I wanted to start a channel as a way to build community. I live pretty rural. The nearest big city is about an hour away. Spokane and Seattle are about 3 hours away. My town is about 600 people, maybe 1,200 in the summer. And I, rather than only using online communities, like Reddit, of course, trying to get away from using Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, I really don't feel connected with people with. I thought this might be a way to connect with people. A big part of the sewing community. I have been sewing since high school, but I really have it as my main hobby since about 2020. And that was the biggest way that I was able to build community during COVID. Of course, I was pregnant during COVID, had my son in December, and then because he had to have a big surgery at a year-old, we remained quarantined, and so really I lost a lot of the social community that I had before having a kid. I don't drink anymore, I don't smoke anymore, those kind of things, and so it's really hard, being a working mom in an area with a lot of stay-at-home moms. There's not a lot of people to connect with on the weekends, different hobbies. Also, we live in a little more conservative area, and I am not that. I really enjoy my visits over to the west side, as we call it, Seattle, Bellingham, those kind of areas where I feel a little more welcoming, accepting, those kind of things. And while that's changing here, it's hard to, having sewing groups, those kind of things, they tend to be retirees. And I also am not that. I work full time, have a 4-year-old son. And so this might be a way to just kind of talk about the world as it's going on. I have, concerns for the next 4 years, and I feel a lot of like-minded and support, in specific groups on Reddit. Reddit, of course, can be a whole sounding board spiral kind of thing, but this might be a way to connect with people, talk about a craft I might be doing, talk about maybe a thing I've been thinking about a lot lately. So I figured I would just start off today with kind of introducing myself and going over what my current project is. This is my sewing hobby room, and I am making a poof, like an ottoman, to shove all of my fabric scraps into. I have about 4 white garbage bags full that I've been storing over the years, and I don't want to throw them away. I also want them accessible for doing patches and pockets and repairs and stuff like that, especially because I do make clothes for newborn to adults, so there's lots of little things I could use them for. So I am using Closet Core. They have a poof pattern, and I made the top the other night as some rage sewing, and I did not follow the instructions, and so my lovely little spiral here is not very good. So I read over the instructions. I need to make half and then put them together, and so I need to recut all of these little triangles, and then get them together. I do have, this will be the edge. I thrifted some fabric. I got each of these for $1 each. There's enough to do plenty. We have 3 cats, and so they'll probably just end up sleeping on this. I also got a sheer curtain that I will make into a drawstring bag to put inside of this so that I can easily get to my scraps. They don't get hairy, those kind of things. So this is the outside, and then I sew with knit fabric, so I do snaps, buttons, those kind of things. I do not do zippers. This is my first terrible attempt at a zipper. I need to do a lot more. research on using zipper foots, hidden zippers, those kind of things. I honestly am just going to leave this. It's going to sit on the floor on my carpet, and either a 4-year-old or 3 cats are going to sit on it. I kind of don't care about the zipper. This doesn't bring me joy, so I'm not going to deal with the zipper right now. So yeah, you know, I feel like this is a really great artistic outlet. You know, I drew a lot as a kid. Painting is fun. I like building things, doing crafts. In high school, I made quilts and curtains and pillowcases, all those things that they teach us. I still have my sewing machine from high school that my parents got me. And throughout the years, adulthood, early 20s, those kind of things, I did sew some. You know, I made pillowcases for Christmas, those kind of things. But when I was pregnant, and during COVID, I was still working full time, and I kind of needed to feel like I was doing something. I was buying all the stuff for the kid, doing all the research, you know, those kind of things, but I needed like a thing to do. And so I call it the trash quilt. I went online and I got PDF patterns for quilt blocks, and all of the fabric I've stored over the years, I made into a quilt. And I love it. It is the trash quilt. But it's all the fabric I've had for 15 years, and then the backing of it was satin that I used to make straps for my wedding dresses. I had 2 of them, and so I made some thick straps for them, and that's what I used for the backing, and then I wrenched it through my sewing machine in order to actually quilt it. I have no idea where around here I could even get access to a long arm. I would probably have to mail it out, and I didn't want to do that, and I love it. It's a good quilt. It's not perfect, but it was a good way for me to get back into sewing and see, you know, what I really wanted to do. And then after having my son, he was born with craniosynostosis, and so his suture was fused on his skull. It's called metopic. It's the one on your forehead. So he had a triangle-shaped head. And so he had to have surgery when he was a year old, open it up, restructure. And so when he was born, his head was too big. And then when he had surgery, they overbuilt his skull by 2 years. And so retail clothes never really fit him well. And I was working part-time, and I did some research and found, I started with Brindle and Twig, their PDF patterns, and I bought fabric online. I started with just like my old t-shirts and stuff, but I made him clothing. And so I started when he was 3 months old, and I don't think I need all these, but that's okay. Started when he was 3 months old, and he's 4, and I still make all of his clothes. I've gotten into joggers and hoodies, and we're potty training, so overalls are out now, and rompers and things like that. But yeah, I have really enjoyed it and kind of tried to see what direction I want to go. I've made my husband shirts and hoodies, and my dad loves his shirts, and women's clothes I'm still figuring out. You know, for a while I just made t-shirts, but then kind of had a job change where I felt like I needed to dress more professionally. And so haven't really figured out what direction I want to go with women's clothes. I think I'm going to try some of like the quilted coats. I feel like that would be something I would utilize. But yeah, so that's how I got into making clothes. I do have a small business for that, since, you know, 2 different hobbies, buying fabric and using the fabric, and selling at local farmers markets, an online shop. Was doing pretty good, and then changing my jobs, I ended up kind of backing off for a little bit, let my husband do a little bit more things for himself and in the community and all of that. So yeah, I'm not really sure what direction I want to take with my business this year. Sales weren't that great in 2024 as compared to 2023. The world climate is a lot different. Maybe I just back off and make stuff for us for a while. I'm trying to not buy new fabric for a while. And so yeah, we'll just kind of see where that takes us. I do still need a cover stitch machine. I thrifted one and it seized up, and so I need to research that and see if it's something that I can repair, or do I just, I have a brother serger. They're like $200. I really like it. It's done well. I can maintain it. I've been running mine for about 2 years. I actually had to buy a second one because I made my son a deer costume, and the fabric just totally dulled my blade, and I could not get a new blade shipped here for like 3 weeks, and I had orders to do, and I had to go buy a new serger. So I have 2 of them, and I do really like them. I have my Singer Heavy Duty. My husband got me a new sewing machine for Christmas of 2020, because I had been using my old one for my quilt, and I have enjoyed it. It's a good machine. So, spending $500 is a big expense for me, but, as far as like a hobby expense, but I'll do it at some point. I just kind of have to justify it when I'm ready, and that's okay. Until then, my hems have held up really well. That is the nice thing about sewing clothes for my own son is, rough and tumble and play, and his sweaters are lasting well over a year already, and they're not fading, and none of the seams are coming apart, so I feel good about how I do so. So, at some point I'll get a cover stitch, but not probably anytime soon. Until then, I'm just kind of knocking out some other projects. He has plenty of clothes. I just upped his size, and when I make him his clothes, they seem to last significantly longer than retail. But yeah, I just have some blankets to work through to try some of those coats. I also like the patchwork vests that people make. I want to do these floor poofs. I probably can fill at least 2. I really like the quilted artwork wall hangings, but going from knit fabric to woven, I did use woven for a long time, so I just kind of want to work through and see where my art takes me rather than focusing on my business like I have the last couple of years. I do have a lot of clothes that I need to get pictures of and listed, and at this point probably price them at a discount rather than sitting in a bin. I do use a lot of them for gifts and things like that. But yeah, I'd like to work through those. And when life is tumultuous, our political climate is scary, and trying to figure out how to prepare yourself and prepare your neighbors and your friends and support your child. Some things that I have done to prepare. My license, I renewed it. It's not due until April. I renewed it this month for the 8 years that we can. My 2 weeks after my son turned 4, I got him his 2 vaccines that he needs between the age 4 and 6. Just in case anything changes with that. One of them is the polio vaccine. Him and I are up to date on COVID and flu vaccines. I do have masks set aside at work and at home. Anytime we kind of have a cold, we just went through a sinus infection. Somehow I brought it home and not my kid. And I knew it was coming on, so I wore a mask, and then I was sick for a few days, and then when I went back to work, I wore a mask for a couple of days, just trying to protect, you know, people around you and make sure everybody is safe. And, you know, when you know you're infectious, don't get other people sick. I have no problems working in a mask. I'm fine with that. And if you're not, you know, just give people a heads up that you're sick so that they can make their own choices. And so just trying to prepare for what I can control. You know, as far as taking care of my body and my son's body, and, you know, I can give my husband recommendations, but those are his choices. If he doesn't want to get vaccinated, that's his choice. We are vaccinated. I can discuss my, you know, consequences of those things with him. But he does a good job as well of protecting the people around us. But there's some things, you know, as far as our son goes, that, you know, he goes to daycare with babies, those kind of things. We need to make sure that he is up to date, keeping other kids safe. He's healthy enough. We are lucky. Yes, he went through a big medical event. It was scary. It was a lot. Nobody, you know, the closest person through the grapevine of people you know, is in Sweden. I did find a parent support group online, on Facebook, which that's another dilemma with Facebook, is there's so many groups where I've learned community and met people and support and those kind of things, you know, and what do we do with it? So yeah, there's just some of those kind of things that I would like to talk about it. If there's anything that you guys want to talk about, want to bring up, of course, crafting project ideas. I always love to hear those. I think I just want to create this as a way to have discussions, do a craft with me, have coffee, those kind of things. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.